Ryan Elliott, ID Boxing. We're in San Antonio. Eddie Hearn, you've got a new world champion, but he's got a broken jaw, a bit of a mixed night.
It is. I mean, yeah, amazing performance, especially considering the injury. Two-division world champion, over the moon for Jesse Rodriguez, but absolutely devastated that he broke his jaw, 6th round, and amazed that he fought the way that he did in the back half of the fight. I mean, it was a frustrating back half of the fight, but he walked him down and you know, left himself exposed, took shots as well. And when I got in the ring after the fight, I heard in the 11th round he broke his jaw, and when I spoke to him, he couldn't speak. So a really disappointing injury, and you know, it really affects obviously the plans for the Sonny Edwards fight in June or July. He's gone straight to hospital. We hope that he's okay. We have to see if they need to operate, which almost certainly they will, and it will probably change our plans for the summer. But good performance and a new champion, but obviously we hope he's okay.
Yeah, it sounds like he might be out for quite a while, especially if you say he needs surgery. Does that open the door for Edwards Martinez?
Yeah, I think that's what we have to focus on now. I mean, Julio Cesar Martinez has got a fairly routine defence on May the 6th, and we want Sonny to fight in July. And you know, if we can't get unification, we give him a voluntary defence. But I don't want a voluntary defence. I want the unifications. You know, if Jesse has to wait till September, October, whenever it is, he can fight the winner of Martinez against Sonny. Sonny can fight Delakian. I don't really care, but I really want to make those unifications, and that will be the plan still.
So we're on Christian Gonzalez tonight. He told me a couple of days ago, I'm going to bring a war. It's going to be a war for Mexico. Quite the opposite, really elusive.
Yeah, I mean, elusive and boxed well early. You know, was quite dangerous. I mean, obviously dangerous. He broke Bam's jaw. But the back end of the fight, I felt like he tried to survive. He made it really awkward, moving non-stop. Pretty negative, really, and disappointing that when you've got a vacant world title on the line, you don't do more to try and win. But he was out of his depth, to be honest with you, and he was outclassed, and I think he went into survival mode in the back half of the fight.
A new unified super bantamweight world champion Marlon Tapales with the upset. How did you see the fight close?
Yeah, I felt like MJ won the fight. 115, 113, 116, 112, but I was disappointed with his performance in the first half of the fight, or even through 8 rounds. Just feel like you've got to grab hold of this fight sometimes, you know, and you can't allow, you know, you've got the corner looking at us and looking at the manager saying, you know, what do you think? It's like, you're behind. Fucking do something. And he did, and he won 9, 10, 11, 12. I mean, he battered him in the 12th, but that's so frustrating because you batter him in the 12th and you think you could have stopped this guy. And you've got to get hold of these fights earlier. You can't allow a fight to drift away from you. And that was what was annoying in the fight. MJ was, you know, getting his feet there and just not letting his hands go and kept getting picked off. And he allowed Tapales to win a lot of those early rounds. So, listen, when it's 115, 113, sometimes it can go the other way. I was surprised that the challenger got it because I felt like the champion won. But, you know, when you box like that, sometimes you run that risk. And congratulations to Tapales.
I guess some of them have been a mandatory no rematch clause.
No rematch clause. But, you know, we'll be pushing the WBA particularly to get MJ in a mandatory position. We feel like he won the fight, so we'll see what happens. Obviously, Fulton and Nue is not till July, so you're probably looking at that fight not happening till October, November. So hopefully we can get in a position and try and force a rematch.
Word on Ray Ford, career best performance tonight against Jesse Magdaleno.
I mean, to give you, you know, I think a good understanding is that Ray won virtually every round in that fight. And we were still a little bit disappointed. I mean, he gave himself a B+ or whatever it was. I thought it was a great performance, but I feel like he could have stepped on him and stopped him. I'm not sure Ray loses to any featherweight in the world with his style. And like, I think Maurizio Lara is the best featherweight in the world. Are you sure that he beats Ray Ford? I mean, our styles make fights, you know. He's a horrible style for an aggressive fighter. He's super sharp, super accurate, super tricky. But, you know, we need to build his profile because he's not a guy that the champions are going to look at and go, oh, I'll have a voluntary against Ray Ford. So you've got to get that guy into a mandatory position. And he's now climbing up the rankings nicely. That was a massive win against a former world champion, a world-ranked fighter. And it's a big future for Ray Ford.
Other undercard standouts early on. I bumped into you just after Khalil Koh's fight. What finish?
Oh, great fight. Great knockout. He needs to step up now. It was a last-minute opponent, but strong opponent, but good stoppage. Young Jesus Martinez had a big step up. Draw for him. He'll be back. Mark Castro with a good stoppage. Really, again, now needs to step up. And Israel Madrimov got 10 valuable rounds against a very tough Ibakwe. And a great fight between Matisse and Cesena. I mean, Matisse lost most rounds and pulled out the stoppage in the 10th. Maybe a little bit early, but again, lesson for fighters. You cannot sit on a rope taking punishment without throwing anything back. And then when you get stopped, put your hands in the air and say, you've got to show something. And, I feel like the stoppage was a touch early, but what a comeback win for Matisse.
Edgar Berlanga, matchroom debut confirmed. Jay Quigley, someone who's mixed it with the likes of Demetrius Andrade, but is this a fight Edgar Berlanga has to not only win, but win in style?
Yeah, I mean, by far the toughest fight of Berlanga's career so far. But, the opponent is what we said it would be. A top 15 guy, just won last weekend, moved to super middleweight, fought Demetrius at middleweight. He's had a couple of good wins against Shane Mosey Jr., etc., etc. Good fight. Puerto Rico against Ireland. And this is the first fight for Edgar of securing that position of a real world-class contender, because he's got a lot of levels to go through to start getting those super fights. But it's going to be a wild atmosphere at the Garden on June 24th, and he needs to go through Jason Quigley, and Quigley will be tough. He'll be game. He's good up at super middleweight, and coming off a win last weekend. It's a good opponent, good fight. Be a big card as well.
Regis Prograis in the house tonight. We spoke yesterday about his free agency. Any talks?
Yeah, we had good chat tonight. I mean, look, he's going to do the rounds. Obviously, he's a free agent. He's going to talk to us and PBC and Top Rank, etc. And I feel like we're well positioned. I think he'd be a big part of our stable. I think he's a great fighter. There's some big fights out there for him. I'm sure he's going to have some great options, and we'll see what he chooses.
Sean Gibbon's been around this week. I know he'll be celebrating with Tapales tonight, but has there been any talks about doing any fights with Pacquiao potentially?
Yeah, just, they're desperate for the Conor Benn fight, and we want to do everything we can to make the Chris Eubank Jr. fight. We'll see how that plays out. We want to announce Conor's fight next week. Pacquiao is an option, but I would like to make the Eubank fight.
Could Brook Pacquiao be an option?
Probably not. Kell would like that fight. I mean, a lot of people would like to fight Pacquiao because obviously he's past his best and he's still got that incredible name and he's a legend of the sport. But I like Brook against Ben, and Kell's not going to be ready probably till October, November. So I've got to get back to Kell next week. He's asked me to make some big fights for him. So we'll see what we can do.
Quick word on Bivol. I spoke to Vadim yesterday saying it's starting to seem likely that he might end up just waiting out Canelo potentially. Is that what you expect?
I think if we get a deal done for September, I think he will wait. He's going to be over probably in Guadalajara on May the 6th. Eddie Reynoso and Sal have stressed again that's the fight that they want next. And if we can get a deal done, I think you'll see him probably wait till September. And you know what? If we don't get a deal done, you may see him wait for the winner of Callum Smith against Beterbiev and try and make the undisputed. So it's just a case of whether he's going to have that voluntary in June. We wanted it to be Joshua Buatsi, but obviously he turned that down, and we'll see what's next.
Vadim did say they were maybe struggling for the funds for Beterbiev, Bivol, for the demands both fighters would want. Is that a fight that you potentially take to the Middle East though? Yeah,
I think it is, because I think the money that those guys want, I'm not sure it exists in the US. So I think it's a great fight. It's one of the biggest fights in boxing, but those guys are going to want a lot of money for it, and maybe the Middle East is the home for that one.
Right, Eddie, thank you as always, speaking ID Boxing.